All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Countless Vlogcast, episode 25. I'm here with entrepreneur Kenneth Wilson. How are you, Kenneth?
Good. How are you doing, Justin?
So tell us about your business, the name of your business, what it's about, and a little about yourself.
Sure. So, like he said, my name's Kenneth Wilson. I run a national financial planning practice through Northwestern Mutual. And I was born and raised in New Jersey. I've also lived in Florida, California. But yeah, that's my business. I help people make good decisions with their money.
So how long have you been doing this business, and what inspires you to start?
So I've been in the business for about a year now, still kind of ramping things up and getting it to grow. But what inspired me to come into the business was actually originally had no idea that I wanted to do financial planning, right? I was going to school for mechanical engineering. I was at my dream school, University of Southern California. And towards the end of that year, I realized that I couldn't afford to go back to school there because it was just way too expensive. I had scholarships, I had financial aid, and I still couldn't take out enough loans to go back. So that experience, afterwards, I ended up having to transfer over to Montclair State and finish there. That transition and that experience really made me realize that I want my job to be helping people avoid that same thing where, in all senses, you've earned your way into that position or to reach whatever goal, but money is the limiting factor. I feel like that should never happen. So that's really what inspired me to come into the business. And now that I'm in it, I'm even more inspired because I realize how little there is that people really know about finances, right? There's a lack of understanding around it. People don't have the conversation because it's awkward or it's taboo or whatever it is. And that really hurts a lot of communities. So I am even more passionate about it now.
So when you get a client, what are some of the questions they ask you, or how do you help them exactly with the finances?
Sure. So when I first start off with a client, I really just start off by talking to them about, what are their goals that they are looking to achieve, right? So where do you see yourself in 3, 5, 10, 30 years down the line? And then we also talk about what are you doing now? So what kind of strategies are you using around things like saving, planning, investing, all that kind of stuff, and get a good picture of where you're at now. And then I'll go back to my team and put together a plan for you that basically will tell you, one, what are the things that you're doing really well right now? Obviously, we're not trying to rock the boat or mess those things up. We just, encourage those. But if there are some areas where you can make some small tweaks or adjustments, you might be able to get better efficiencies or returns. So we'll look at that. And then we might find gaps, right? So you might be completely missing something or just haven't started something because you didn't know about it. We look at filling those gaps in the best way possible. So based on wherever you're trying to head and where you're at.
Yeah, it's a great business. So what's been the feedback so far in like the 1 year you've been an entrepreneur in your business?
It's been awesome, actually. Especially, so obviously you don't expect a global pandemic and a market crash in your first year in a financial services business. But going through it and having this experience through all of this has been really crazy because I've been able to see, how my clients have been able to react because they had a plan in place already, right? Or they've been able to have like a lot of peace of mind going into it because they know, okay, I've already set up certain things and parameters to make sure that I'm good through all of this. And even meeting with new people, right? They're going through a lot of uncertainty and scared times right now. But having a plan can ease that, and moving forward, they know that next time something like this happens, they'll be prepared. So I think it's been awesome, even for me, to just increase my conviction about helping people and making sure that they understand these things because it really does change lives. So I'm loving it.
So you said finances is like really taboo to talk about too. So what is some of the challenges you face with clients on a daily basis, or like when they talk to you? Is like, I know it's like maybe like a lot of fear probably, but what are some of the other challenges you may face and like talking to them about this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of it takes a second and a little bit to get people out of their comfort zone, right? And to really get them to open up about their finances. And so a lot of times people will think that my job is all like crunching numbers and push on my glasses and that's what I'm doing for my whole day, right? But really we're more like financial therapists kind of thing, where we're here to talk to you and really get you to open up, right? Find out why you feel the way you feel about money, right? Find out why you want to go do all these great things. And that's how we can help you really get to the bottom of those things. So getting people to open up is difficult sometimes, as well as just the fact that, a lot of times people they don't know what they don't know, right? So because there's a lot of misinformation out there, whether it's online, people like just do their own research, right? And they can find whatever they want. People can say anything on the internet. It's hard sometimes to get over that hurdle of misinformation or misunderstandings. So we have to do a really good job at educating people, and just showing them through the numbers and walking them through things. And I guess one of the struggles in our business is that it's a very delayed business. So we call it like a 60 to 90 day business, because when we start working with someone, we don't actually see any profits or like things happening with them for another month or 2 or 3, right? So that can be difficult to like mentally get through, because you're putting in all this work with this person, and then you're not seeing for months. But at the end of the day, it's a long-term game. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be with my clients from day one through like life changes, right? Whether they're having kids, changing jobs, getting a new house, moving. All those times are all things that are going to affect your financial plan. I'm meant to be here for those times, right? So that's what I do. And those challenges come with it, but it's part of the game.
So talk about the positives too. Like I like to talk about both sides of it too. There's always like the challenge. What about the good side of like your business?
Definitely. I mean, one of my favorite parts of my job is that, my job literally is to always be meeting new people, right? So I love that. And the fact that I get to work with so many different types of people, right? Like I work with everyone from doctors and engineers and stuff like that, people in the arts, right? I work with a lot of people in just like music, acting and stuff like that. So I just love getting to talk to new people. So that's really cool. I've gotten to see and hear about so many different experiences and walks of life. I also have learned so much, right? So I grew up always having a planning mindset. I was always someone who like, I want to have a goal and then I'm going to figure out how I'm going to get to that goal, right? So planning has always been kind of naturally came to me. And even though I felt like that and I was into finances, I came into this job and still had to learn so much to get to the point where I'm at today. So that really just blew my mind, because I was like, even people who are interested in this stuff, even people who have done their own research, still only are scratching the surface, right? So I think that wealth of knowledge has been something that's been super valuable for me. And I just love that I get a crazy amount of opportunity, right? So like I'm running my own business. I'm able to, make my own schedule. And even though I know it's like a lot of upfront work where I have to put in the hours now, at the end of the day, like I'm afforded a lot of flexibility because of it. So I love that.
That's great. So when you first started, who was your audience, your target audience, and who are to now?
So my target audience is kind of broad, right? So I work with anyone who's really passionate about something, right? I want them to be open-minded, forward-thinking, someone who's really has some plans, has some goals that they want to achieve. Those are the people who we can really work best with, because they have something that they want to get to, right? And so we have kind of a way that we can work towards that. I work with a lot of, like I said, people, doctors, engineers, people in the medical fields. Business owners are a big part of my clientele. And so right now, especially with everything going on, I've made sure that I want to focus on a few different areas. So it's going to be Black-owned businesses, Black families, right? People of color, and the LGBT community, right? Because these are areas where, in the financial services industry, it's dominated by a lot of straight white men, right? Just cisgendered white men, which is, just how it's always been. And so what happens is that people tend to get neglected because of that, right? Those white men are going to reach out to people who look like them and have similar experiences with them. So my target audience is, the people who are missed from that, any underrepresented community that hasn't typically had access to similar information.
Okay, great. So talk about some of your goals for present time with the quarantine going on and like all this time you have to like build your business. What's some of your goals presently?
Right now, I'm really focusing on trying to grow my business and reach out to as many people as possible. I'm focusing a lot right now on Black-owned businesses, because obviously there's a lot of businesses that are struggling right now, right? And Black-owned businesses are oftentimes hit the hardest in situations like this. And so I want to be able to help them know that, one, there are resources available to them to be able to take advantage of and utilize in times like this. But two, going forward, like you should have a plan for when things like this happen to really make sure that you can get past it, right? But the other part of that is that um, the generational wealth part, right? So there's a lack of historical generational wealth in the Black community just because of lack of information and all that stuff. So I'm really trying to spread that awareness of in the Black community, there's um, not as much understanding of how to pass on generational wealth, or even when there's a successful Black business owner, there's not a succession plan for that business, right? How am I going to pass this business on to the next generation, right? So those types of things are things that I really want to focus on and hammer in and try and have some positive impact. That's where I really want positive impact.
Okay, great. So, how have you grown with your business then, like your as person, and how have you grown in the last year and overall since like you graduated and all that, and to like now?
It's been really crazy. So, in the time since I left school, one, I've learned so much about finances and personal finance and all that stuff, of course, right? And the government and how our whole financial system works, all of that. But I've actually grown so much as a person too, just by having to talk to people about, what are their life's goals? What are they trying to achieve in life? It really kind of opens your perspective of like, you know, what you've been trying to do this whole time and why and all that stuff. And so it's really cool to look into your own understanding of things in that way. And I've also just been able to use a lot of the time in quarantine to explore different hobbies, right? So I've been able to like ride my motorcycle a lot more. I bought a sewing machine just so I could like start making stuff, right? I do a lot more of my music stuff because I'm just not having to commute anymore, right? And I worked throughout the entire quarantine because I can do my entire business from home. But by cutting out that commute and everything, I've been able to use so much more time, and it's been really great. So yeah, it's been a lot of personal growth in just a lot of areas, and I really appreciate the business for that because I guess the type of people who come into our business is very like they're very A-type personalities, right? Because we have to be talking to people all the time. We have to be pretty assertive because really we're trying to push people to help them to do what's best for themselves, right? And a lot of times people don't act in their own best self-interest, right? There's a lot of like just like self-harm or self-detrimental activities that people do. So learning how to talk to people and help them to understand in the way that's best for them has been something that's helped me in my personal relationships as well because I'm able to communicate that a lot better.
Wow, that's great. So, where do you want to see yourself in about 3 months from now, 6 months from now?
Yeah, well, I'd like to see myself, hitting some of we have like a lot of internal goals that we try to achieve in terms of number of clients we want to get, right? Amount of revenue to produce, all that kind of stuff. But as far as just like personal goals, things like that, I'm trying to get a new motorcycle in the next 2 months. I'll probably, travel a little bit. I want to go back to California just to visit some friends and clients as well over there. Traveling obviously we'll see how that goes. But those are some of the things that I'm trying to achieve. I really want to grow the business, so I'm trying to hire someone soon. I'm not sure about the next 6 months, but
Yeah.
I'll probably be hiring an assistant definitely within the next year, because just with the amount of business that we do, doing it all myself is like not realistic. So
Yeah.
that's been something that I'm thinking a lot about right now too.
So, what are your methods of like branding and promoting yourself and your business?
I'm sorry, one more time.
What is the name? What are the methods of like branding yourself and promoting yourself?
So right now, a lot of the way that I've acquired new business has all been word of mouth. It's been entirely, who do you know that would be open to a conversation like this, right? And that's because a lot of times, right, when you're not just gonna open up to someone about your finances, just some random person, right? And so a lot of times the easiest and best way for us to develop a relationship with someone is for that relationship to be introduced by someone they already are close to. So I'm reaching out to my friends, my people that I've worked with in the past, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm talking to all their friends, all their family, all that. Because one of the nice things about working in my business is that I get to choose who I work with, right? I can choose whether I not to take on someone as a client. But because of that, I want to work with people I like, right? That's the best case scenario. And so the easiest way to do that is to meet with people who I know and like, and then they'll know people that they know and like, and so on and so on. The problem with that is obviously that, I don't get as much reach. So I do want to work on, getting more of a social media presence for the business, things like that. But those are kind of things to come, as well as just having my website and that kind of stuff.
Okay, so in terms of like, have you collaborated with other businesses, and do you want to?
I would definitely love to. I'm currently working with a nonprofit organization in Texas called MAPA, which works with single mothers, and really just working to get resources for them, and education, all types of stuff. So they're a really great group, and I've just started talking with them, and we're figuring out when to get like seminars together, stuff like that. So I love to work with organizations like that who are focused on bettering people and bettering communities. I would love to continue to work with more businesses. I work with businesses as clients a lot, but I do like to have that partnership side where if you're like a CPA, like a tax person or an attorney or something like that, where we have kind of a good mutual relationship where my clients oftentimes need some type of legal advice, right? Whether they're making wills or they're going through some type of divorce, or they want to start a trust or something like that. That's all lawyer stuff, right? So I would love to have a relationship with a lawyer who we can go back and forth and share clients. The same thing with CPAs, where if one of my clients needs someone to do their taxes for this year, I would love to have that type of relationship. So currently on the lookout for that.
Yeah, that's great. So, in terms of like black businesses, how do we protect each other and support each other? Like more, if not financially, how else will we like helping each other like grow and like protect each other?
Yeah. Well, aside from putting our dollar towards black businesses, it really has to come from all of us like joining together and really seeing that support outside of just monetarily, right? So whether it's spreading the word, giving people referrals to help share other businesses, right, and showing other people, but also just having a conversation with even people who aren't of color, right, and just making sure that they understand like there are other businesses out there than just the big name, whatever, right? The other thing I think is kind of a stigma around black-owned businesses is that they're not necessarily the same quality or up to the same standards, which I think is harmful to the community overall. But I think that it's something that needs to be changed as a mindset, because I think that a lot of times even black people will say that, right? Like, oh, I want to get something that's quality or whatever, and it's like we need to be held. We need to be holding ourselves to a higher standard, and we need to be understanding and putting out a different image than so I think it's in a lot of different directions. But yeah, there's a lot for us. There's a lot of work to be done, and I think that um, generational wealth and continuing to grow a business outside of just your own person, right? So when you grow a business, obviously you want to be very successful. You want to like, what's going to happen to this business once I'm gone? And for some people, they take pride in the fact that like they're the whole business and that's what's keeping it alive. But in terms of planning and passing that wealth on to the next generation or to a new owner or something, it doesn't work that way, right? If you run everything. So I think helping people to understand that and to expand in that way can really help overall.
Okay, great. So I know you got to go in a few minutes, but final couple questions. What are some ways you could finance businesses, and also where people find you at? Final two questions. Like the first one is how do we finance businesses? Beginners out there, and I'll drop your website and social media after that.
Sure. So, financing businesses is is a complicated thing because there are so many different types of businesses, right? It depends on how you're incorporated, whether you're an LLC, S corp, C corp, whatever. And then it's also what are you trying to achieve, right? How much are you trying to raise in terms of capital? And a lot of times, people think that they need a ton of capital to get started, and they don't. And so they're afraid to get started because they think that the capital commitment is too much, right? So I think that the first step is really to get started and to do your research beforehand, right? Really make sure that you understand the laws in your area, so in this case, New Jersey, and make sure you understand um, how the money is going to be coming in and how you can use it, right? So whether it's angel investors, whether it's just regular investors and you're just trying to get stocks or things like that, like there's so many different ways to do it. It's really on a case by case basis. So as a financial advisor, we don't um, give advice kind of like broad. We make sure that we have a full understanding of what your situation is, where you're heading. Otherwise, it's malpractice, right? Like I can't give that type of advice, but definitely reach out and we can talk more about it for sure. And then the way that you can do that is either through my website, which is kennethkwilson.nm.com, or you can reach me on Facebook. It's just my name, Kenneth Wilson. My Instagram is KennethW13, but I don't really use that too much for business right now. And then, yeah, obviously LinkedIn. LinkedIn would be a really good place to connect, actually. And that's just my name again, Kenneth Wilson.
Okay, great. Thank you for coming on. I'd like to end here with positive words from you. You can say like make a minute message to people out there in the world, their potential clients and people out there. That's like positive message.
Oh, sorry, broke up for a second.
Oh yeah, I think it broke up for a minute.
One more time.
Oh yeah, I was saying just like a positive message out there. I like to end these with a positive message from you. Anything you want to say to the world?
Really, just don't be afraid to have the conversation, right? Everybody, whether you think that you're making not enough money or too much money, or you think you're all set, right? Like, reach out and have the conversation about your finances and about your financial plan, and make sure you're doing it with a good company that has good financial strength ratings, that is a strong, like respectable company, and really get some second eyes on those places because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so even though you might feel like you don't make enough money or whatever it is, everyone should be doing some type of planning, whether it's how do I get to the point where I'm making enough money to do good planning, or is it I have so much money that I don't know what to do with it, so I need to be efficient with my dollars. There's so many different situations where planning makes sense. You just have to have the conversation. So I think that's the first step, and that's what I want to encourage everybody to do, because it can really change lives, and I've seen it even in my short time in the business.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your business. I wish you well and growth, and thank you for coming on to the blogcast and talking about your business. All right, guys, it's been the Kenneth Blogcast, episode 25, with my guest Kenneth Wilson. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks a lot.
All right, have a good day.
You too.